Ye be warned. The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt. So grab yourself a bottle of rum, you scallywags, because we're talking Pirates of the Caribbean. No, it's okay. We're having fun. Hey, guys, welcome to the Salty Nerd Podcast. Today, we're talking about my, second to third favorite trilogy ever, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And I'm joined, as always, by my panel of salty crew nerds. Matt Vader, what's up, dude?
God dang it. I always get thrown off when you throw it to me like that. I'm good. I'm having fun. Talking about some pirates today.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yarr. Give me some rum, boy.
You got some.
Avast swab.
You slack-jawed idiots. So the insults in these movies are freaking incredible.
Go to the sails and do some piratey stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I don't know how. I don't know the language. I know how to drink rum though.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's like half the battle right there, buddy.
yeah.
I'm also joined by Jude.
Hello.
The salty wench. Welcome. Ready to talk about some pirates?
I've got me hook ready.
God. And Matthew Kadish, welcome to the party.
Shiver me timbers.
Shiver me timbers.
I'm glad that I spent the last 28 hours of my life watching these movies.
Dude,
I know, right?
So,
it's epic. I just got to get a little bit of wax on my. There you go.
Do you want a little wax? I have some wax.
You have some wax?
Yeah, of course I do.
Might have to do that on our next break.
She has everything.
All right, guys. First off, we're going to start with The Curse of the Black Pearl, the first movie in the Pirates trilogy. Before we get into it, we're going to hear a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you'd like to support our drinking habit, go to saltynerdclub.com and become a Patreon. There you can get exclusive access to some behind-the-scenes photos of us getting dressed up for the podcast and goofing around. And you get our blooper reels where all the stuff that we can't release on YouTube because it's just either too goofy or too offensive. We put that in our blooper reel, and you guys can check that out. You can start at the bottom tier is $1, which super appreciate anybody, whatever you guys can pass over to us, help us support the podcast and grow the brand and all that stuff. We hope that you guys enjoy the extra content that you get in return.
It's like, if you want to cancel us, you can give us some money and have access to the stuff that you can use to cancel us with.
Exactly.
So,
but in all seriousness, we're trying to get to the point where Alex and Vader can do the podcast full time so they can quit their jobs. So if you want to support us in that endeavor, please consider becoming a patron so we can earn a full-time living entertaining you guys.
Actually, I kind of really like that I can do that now. That might just keep it.
there you go.
My wife's going to have a heart attack.
So Alex, I need to correct you on something.
What did I say wrong?
This is not the Pirates trilogy. It's the Pirates pentology. There are 5 movies in the Pirates series.
We don't count 4 and 5. Okay, it's the original. It's the Tridge. I'm the original trilogy fan. Honestly, I'm not even sure if I've seen the 5th movie.
Is this the William Turner trilogy?
Yes, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I think William Turner shows up.
Bill
in
Turner?
one of the other ones. That's like
Yeah,
a
he
cameo.
shows up in the 5th one.
Yeah,
Does he really?
Yeah, he's got a cameo in that
I don't
one.
remember that.
I don't either. All right, guys. So, Curse of the Black Pearl, one of my all-time favorite movies. Jude, what is this movie all about? Take it away.
All right, sir. 2003, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 2 hours, 23 minutes. This had a budget of $140 million. What do you gentlemen think this brought into the box office?
500 million.
B?
600.
$654 million.
Hell yeah.
These movies are immensely popular.
Dude, I was there. I know.
Yeah. Well,
And
we all
this
were.
first one is actually good.
Ouch.
Wow.
Break my heart.
So Bootstrap Bill felt bad about mutinying and leaving Captain Jack Sparrow stranded on a desert island. He sent a piece of cursed Aztec gold to his only son, and his shipmates kill him for it. Flash forward 10-ish years, and Elizabeth Swann is having a dream about the day they pulled Will Jr. Turner out of the sea. And fearing her father would think him a pirate, she steals and hides the piece of gold hanging around his neck. When the cursed pirates come looking for the last piece of the cursed treasure, they mistake Elizabeth for a Turner descendant and needing the blood of Bootstrap's remaining family and the last piece of treasure to break the curse, they snatch Elizabeth away to join them on a journey to Isla de Muerta. Only Jack Sparrow, the former captain of the Black Pearl, and Will Turner, the actual child of Bootstrap Bill, can catch up to Captain Barbossa and save Elizabeth from the pirates.
Guys, I freaking love this movie.
It's a good movie.
Like, as far as trilogies go, like great trilogies, there's the original trilogy for Star Wars. There's the Lord of the Rings trilogy. This Indiana Jones trilogy. This is up there for me.
Is it?
This is top 5 trilogies of all time.
Okay.
I saw this movie. I can't remember how old I was. What was it?
Pentology.
You love it so much that you only refer to it as a trilogy. you made it its own thing in your head.
It's just 3 movies. That's all it is.
Indiana Jones is a quadrology.
Shut up.
Everyone is going to kill you.
That movie does not exist. That is confirmed.
Okay. I mean, they're shooting the 4th one right now, so.
It's true.
Anyway.
Sometimes I pray for death.
I saw this movie at just the right age.
How old were you?
I don't know, 2004?
The Back to the
I
Future
think
trilogy.
2003.
Oh, yeah, it's up there.
2003.
Yeah, Back to the Future. 2003, I wasn't even in high school yet.
I like these movies way better than Back to the Future movies.
Wow. That's saying a lot.
We can't be friends anymore.
Sorry.
Oh, man. It's me
Bummer.
and Kadish against you two.
I actually, like, when the second one came out, I actually went to the theater in full cosplay. I'll have to go and find the picture.
You could probably pull Jack Sparrow off, actually.
I think I could.
Yeah.
I think I could
You
with
could-
the right
you could
makeup.
do it.
You know what's funny is in 2014 when I was doing my first book tour, so I was going to all these comic book conventions, and in the one in Chicago, the guy in the booth next to me was a professional Captain Jack Sparrow cosplayer, and he would just go to all these conventions as Captain Jack.
Yeah.
And he was like he looked exactly like
Wow.
Johnny
Johnny
Depp.
Depp.
That's cool.
He had like the mannerisms down. He had the voice down.
Was it actually Keith Richards?
No, but that dude got so many chicks at these conventions, you wouldn't believe it.
So when these movies were still, brand new and coming out, like as a teenager, I feel like I nailed the impression. Like I had it down. I did the same thing. I had the mannerisms down. I dressed up. I was like,
can you do the?
the following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of rum. No, I loved it so much, man. I bought into it. I love the adventure. It's so epic on scale and everything. I have no salt for this movie. It's so much damn fun, and I think it's probably one of Johnny Depp's best performances, bar none. Like,
oh, sure.
he's-
It's iconic. He is Captain Jack for sure.
Before this movie, Johnny Depp was kind of like this quirky indie actor. Like he was well known in the industry, but he was known for doing these like offbeat roles. And this is what put him into like the AAA list category. Like his creation of Jack Sparrow was the thing that made him.
Put him on Amber Heard's radar.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we dive into, there's a couple of things like behind the scenes stuff that I know about this movie, but Vader, what did you think about this first one, about Curse of the Black Pearl?
I'm going to I'm going to have the same feelings about this one as I have about this whole trilogy. I really enjoy these movies. The first one is by far the best one. Okay. But they're all too long by about 45 minutes, but they're all beautifully shot and they're all just
The practical sets,
the
everything.
yeah,
It's
the
gorgeous,
practical
man.
sets, everything about it. They're just super fun, entertaining movies. You know, the stories are interesting and everything. It's just if you're into pirates, man, you like these movies. That's it. I mean, I don't know what else to say right at this moment.
Yeah.
Just fun. It's good stuff. I enjoyed it.
Jude, how about you?
Just too long.
What are your opening thoughts on these?
I love this movie, and I loved it when it came out. And in fact, when between the first one and the second one, I was on vacation, and I was in the Bahamas on one of the not popular islands, just out in the middle of nowhere. And it was literally in the ocean, and I saw this beautiful man walking a dog down the beach, and then I was just in a fog, and then when he was gone, I was like, was that fucking Orlando Bloom?
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's a beautiful man. He's really, really, truly gorgeous. No, I loved this movie, and it's a great, fun adventure, and it still holds up.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like the rest of them. I just feel like the focus is on the funny sidekick character, which I felt like is where he should have stayed instead of becoming the main focus of the movies. What made Jack Sparrow great was that he was peppered in to be comedic relief and to be like this kind of a surprise of a character in this adventure film. And I think that that's why this movie works. And for me, the other two don't.
Okay. Kadish, how about you, buddy?
This is a very good movie. It's probably the only good one, in my opinion, in the Pirates series. And you know, it's a very well written movie. I think it's about 20 minutes too long, but like the length of this one didn't bother me. I do agree with Jude. I feel like the overall series suffers from what I call Urkel syndrome, which is when like a minor character is kind of up jumped to a main character because he's so popular. But you know, that's neither here nor there for this movie. I felt like this movie, in terms of writing, very well written movie. In terms of character, great characters in this movie, especially Johnny Depp's creation of Captain Jack Sparrow. You know, there were a lot of different actors up for the role, like Christopher Walken and like all these other people.
Gosh.
And I feel like if Johnny Depp hadn't gotten this role, it wouldn't have been as iconic. Because he really crafted this character.
A really cool story about how he created this character of Jack Sparrow. Of course, we all know it's based off of Keith Richards and his kind of swagger and the mannerisms and stuff. But when Johnny Depp went on set and started playing this character like a drunken Keith Richards, the directors and producers at Disney were like, no, this is not what we agreed on. You got to change your character up. They did not like it at all. They thought it was horrible. They thought it was going to ruin the movie. And Johnny Depp stood his ground and was like, look, you either let me do it this way or you just fire me and bring in somebody else. And they were like, oh shit, we already paid you. Fine, go ahead. So we did it. And we got the freaking greatest pirate character ever put to film. It's just,
It's so iconic.
it's so amazing. I love it, man. And that story itself just really, as like an actor, like I don't say this often. I feel like it's kind of corny to say, but like an actor who stands up for their craft, I dig it, especially for this.
Well, you know, another funny story about the creation of Captain Jack Sparrow was that when Johnny Depp was originally conceiving of the character, he went to Gore Verbinski, who's the director of this movie, and he basically said, like, I want Captain Jack to have lost his nose in a sword fight and sewn it back on, so like he'd have a blue nose the entire movie. And he wasn't afraid of death. He was mostly afraid of pepper and the common cold because, you know, he didn't want to lose his nose again.
What?
Yeah. And Gore Verbinski had to be like, maybe we pull back on that
That's a little
bit.
weird.
Yeah, that's a little bit much.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where like Johnny Depp, because he knew he was going so far out, he'd go way far out and then the people who pulled him back would bring him back to where he wanted to be originally. So for instance, he got all of his teeth capped in gold for the role. And the executives were like, oh no, you can't have all gold teeth. And he's like, how about if I just have like, you know, these teeth? And they were like, okay, that's better than what you had before. And he's like, that's what I originally wanted, you know?
Nice. Okay. So the other actors, of course, Orlando Bloom as William Turner, I think he fit the bill perfectly. I can't imagine anybody else in that role. And
do you know how old Keira Knightley was when she did this movie?
Well, her character's 18 in this movie. I don't know how old she actually was though.
She was 17 years old.
Wow.
Really?
Man, she nailed it.
And they had to, she had some very funny stories about how like they had to invent like boob makeup for her because she's so flat chested. Basically they had to put padding there to make it look like there was something on her chest. And then they used special makeup to enhance the cleavage. Because she was like, I've got nothing there. So,
yeah, I was gonna say like in the corset scene when she's like laying on her side, she has actual cleavage, and like I've seen her in other movies, and she's 100% correct. She's completely flat chested.
Yeah.
And I was like, gosh, how did they do that? and Kadish had even made a comment about something about like why do women wear corsets? And I was like, for the cleavage.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
And
It's all just to lift everything up.
I was like, I wondered if they actually got that much cleavage out of her with a corset.
I don't know.
Well, it was funny because Keira Knightley even told stories about how like the makeup artist had to like go back to like old school 1950s like makeup techniques in order to figure out how to make her look like she had breasts.
Is it just to make her older? What was the reasoning behind that? Just
to make her sexier.
Just sexier, just for the sex appeal.
Well,
Okay.
well, you know, she is like flat chested, and so like they wanted her to have like something in there, and she was also like, can you make me look like I have boobs? And so like a lot of effort was put into making it appear like that. Movie magic, I guess.
It's a very uncomfortable discussion.
If
Why?
drag queens can make cleavage, Keira Knightley can make cleavage.
Well, that's one of the funnier scenes early on in the movie is when Jack Sparrow saves her from drowning, and they make the whole comment about wearing a corset, and it's like you can't breathe and stuff like that, and then. When he pulls her out of the water and he cuts the corset off, and they're like, "Oh, never would have thought of that." Clearly, you've never been to Singapore. Like it was a thing. They actually brought it up, and I don't know. I never really noticed that they like went out of their way to make her look more busty. I just
it's funny, and it's kind of like one of the cooler things about these movies is that in the third movie they go to Singapore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get to that. There's a scene in that movie that is just absolutely incredible. Jeez, man, what do I talk about next? It's
Let me tell you one of the things.
I'm just gonna be gushing over this movie for an hour.
When I remember when I first watched this, I was impressed with the fantastic elements of this whole series. I didn't know quite what to expect, but man, they go like really deep hardcore into like this fantasy world.
Yeah,
there's undead zombie skeletons and stuff, and
that was
and it's just it gets way out there. It's cool.
What's interesting is so the two guys who wrote the screenplay for this, Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, they had originally written the script in the 90s, and they went to go pitch it to Disney, and basically they were like, hey, we have this idea for like something based off of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, and we're gonna have like cursed pirates who are like undead and all this other stuff, and Disney was just like, no, that sounds stupid. And then in the mid to late 90s, I guess, Disney was on this whole like synergy kick where they were like, we want movies about our baseball team, and we want movies about our theme park and stuff like that. And so this idea of the Pirates of the Caribbean getting resurrected as a movie kind of came back into the executive suites at Disney. And one of the guys who was basically put in charge of, making movies to promote their theme parks, his name was Jay Walpert. He remembered the pitch that these guys did, and he went back to them. He's like, hey, you guys still got that script? So Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio had been working on the script for this since like the early 90s. And by the time it was about a decade by the time like this went into production. And you can tell how well written this movie is because like they spent time, and every character has an arc and every plot point gets paid off. Like it is a very well written film in the sense that like, Jack Sparrow, they set up that he's got like one bullet that he saved for the man who betrayed him, which was Barbossa. And then at the end, he uses that bullet to get his revenge on Barbossa. And, his entire quest or character arc in this movie is to regain his ship, and at the end of the movie he regains his ship. And Orlando Bloom, like his whole thing was to be with Elizabeth, and at the end of the movie he's with Elizabeth. Like every character's arc comes to full fruition in this movie, and they made this movie as a standalone. You can tell because everything gets paid off by the end. And that's a problem with the next two movies, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But this movie, it's textbook good screenwriting.
Yeah, and I will, because you guys all mentioned that how the length of it. I will disagree on it being too long. I can't think of anything I would cut out of this movie to make it shorter. The fact that it's just one of those like sprawling adventures, I'd put it in the same category as Lord of the Rings. I don't complain about Lord of the Rings is like freaking super long, but
at this point,
everything's necessary.
At this point, this movie is iconic now. This is in our cultural lexicon.
Yeah,
you can't cut anything out. It'd be like trying to cut
something out of Lord of the Rings.
The Tatooine scenes out of Star Wars or something. You couldn't do it.
I don't know if I'd agree about cutting stuff out, but I do think that they could have structured things a little bit to make it more streamlined, in which that would have shortened it a little bit. Like all the stuff where they're with like the Aztec gold and the pirate hideaway stuff, a lot of that could have been combined and streamlined, I believe. But I think that if this movie were just 20 minutes shorter, it would have been excellent.
I completely disagree.
I don't necessarily agree with you. I think that because it's so well written and it's such a joy to watch, the length of it doesn't bother me for this one. The other two, I don't think are as well written and aren't as much of a joy to watch. And so the length of it is grating to me.
Okay.
And they get progressively longer.
They do. We'll talk about the length
Yeah,
of
I
the
was
other
a
two
little
later.
surprised at how long the third one was. I'm like,
Oh yeah,
Jesus,
it's almost 3 hours.
this thing never ends. My goodness. But there's go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, there's so many scenes in this movie. Like, I wouldn't be able to pick just one of like what's your favorite scene? Like, I can't pick just one. Like, even from the simplest little interactions between Sparrow and Turner, where they're like, this is either madness or, they're under the water and they're walking through the thing, and he's like, it's amazing how often those two things coincide.
I know what my favorite scene is in this movie.
Oh, go ahead. What is it?
It's the scene where Barbossa is talking to what's the girl's name?
Elizabeth.
Where after she's on Barbossa, she's
Yeah.
on the Pearl.
Yeah.
And they reveal that they're
You
all
best start
undead.
believing in ghost stories.
That
Yeah.
scene where they reveal that they're all undead in the moonlight and everything.
That was
They
great.
go through the whole sequence where they toss her around the ship. And
Yeah.
everything. That's my favorite part of this movie.
That is
It's so well done.
That is a
It's just- it's
fantastic
incredible.
reveal, because we get hinted
Yeah.
at it when
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
in the jail cell. And he's
There's
like,
there's
there is
so
the
many
curse.
little cool things in this movie that I really really like. That just sets up other things, like when she falls off the cliff
Mhm.
and the coin gets in the water
And like,
and it goes and you're like,
and then
whoa,
you see the wind
what?
shift. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, some bad
Like,
shit's coming.
it gets cloudy, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's like I love stuff like that. It was very well done. And when they attack Port Royal and everything, and you start meeting the different crew members of the Pearl,
Mhm.
I love the Pearl guys. They're so fun.
Yeah.
Especially the two dudes with the one with the
Yeah.
eyeball.
Yeah.
And I forget their names.
It's like C-3PO and R2-D2,
yeah,
basically.
it's pretty much.
Yeah.
And just the ancillary secondary characters are all fun in this movie. Sparrow's right hand guy.
Gibbs.
Gibbs,
Yeah.
Mr. Gibbs.
Mr.
I
Yeah.
love Gibbs.
I really like him.
Yeah.
He's in all the movies, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
You best not be singing that song.
Oh, I love it. It's awfully bad luck to bring a woman aboard, even a miniature one.
It's just the sword fight in the blacksmith.
Oh my dude.
That's like my favorite sword fight of the whole series.
The freaking line where he's like, I practice with him 3 hours a day. You need to find yourself a girl, mate. Like, it's like, oh my God.
But
It's so funny.
It also sets up how he's such a good swordsman.
Yeah.
Right.
And because, most movies, lazy writing, he'd just be
right.
with
Yeah.
the sword. But he's like, I practiced 3 hours a day since I was a kid. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay.
So that when I meet a pirate,
I can kill it.
him.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's awesome. Jude, do you have any favorite moments in particular that you really kind of draw to?
Gosh, I mean, I think Johnny Depp is the fan favorite, and they're not wrong. I love the two guys, the one with the wooden eye.
Mhm.
Pentel and Rigetti.
Okay, fine. We're
I've
trusting
never
you.
known their names either.
R2-D2 and C-3PO.
But and I know you asked me what I like about it, but since we're already talking about those two characters, I feel like making the next two movies around the Jack Sparrow character, they could have easily done that with those two characters, and that also wouldn't have worked. And that's kind of what I mean about like taking a side character and making him your main character. It doesn't work. He works as a side character in this. Because I mean, and he's more than a side character, but he's not the main story, and that's why it works. And plus, it's really well written.
I don't get why you guys think that,
I think
that
Sparrow,
Jack Sparrow is the side character.
I think he is the main character.
I think he's the
he's
main
the one
character
who's
too.
he's pushing the story forward.
I think Will Turner is the main character. This whole thing is about Will's father and the piece of gold. And
He's-
Will's
He's
blood.
one of
He's
the-
a
he's
means
one of the
to an
main-
end.
He's one of the main
No,
arcs.
no. If you look at it, Will
But-
Turner is the one who drives the action forward. He's the one who springs Jack from the jail cell. He's the one who wants to go after and rescue Elizabeth. So Jack's story is kind of like a B plot to Will's A plot, and Will is actually the character that continually drives the action forward in these movies
I get-
until it gets to the point where it's all about Jack.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I think if anything, it's maybe a
Equal footing.
co-A plots. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know. But they work off each other, so it's fine.
I mean, that just kind of shows.
good writing is when the B story
Mhm.
advances along with the A story.
Yeah.
But if you look at the main character in every story is the one who's always driving the action forward, and in this movie, it's mostly Orlando Bloom's character who's doing that.
All right. Yeah, I think it's just it just kind of shows how good the writing is that we we can argue who the main character is. Like, there's Will Turner. Yes, he does drive the story. He breaks Jack out of jail, but at the same time, Jack is the one.
I said earlier, this feels like, to me, this is like the Will Turner trilogy. Because, you know, his story, I feel like I kind of felt his story in particular
about getting his father,
the whole thing,
the father
you know,
relationship with him.
Well, the interesting thing is that Will Turner's story has an end to it, whereas by the time the third movie is done, Jack is basically exactly where he was at the beginning of the movie. So his story keeps recycling, like his story never ends. But Will Turner's has a conclusion to it.
It's kind of a heartbreaking one too.
Yeah, I had never seen the third one until we watched it for this week.
Oh yeah, it's kind of dark. Okay, so what do you give this for a rating, Matt?
Oh, I really enjoy these movies, and this one in particular, probably a strong 4.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a solid 4 for me.
Right on. I thought we were going to get more drunk than we are now.
Well, we got two more movies to go through. I'll make you guys more drinks.
Okay. So a strong 4?
Strong 4.
Okay.
Strong 4.
Jude, how about you? What's your final rating and final thoughts on this?
You know, for me, I think it's hard for me to choose a favorite part because everything is just so good start to finish in this whole movie. Like, I love Elizabeth's journey from being this proper girl who's going to marry the boy that she's supposed to marry. And then she becomes a pirate throughout, and she becomes the king of the pirates throughout. I mean, we'll get there by the end of the third one. Yeah. But like, I just love everything about it. I love the sword play, and I love the costuming, and I love the practical sets, and it's just so well done. And I love this movie. I give it a 4 out of 5 hooks.
Okay.
Pirates hooks.
They used real ships, right?
Yes.
Did they build new pirate ships, or
no? I think for some of the long shots where you actually see the full size ship, they rented out actual historical
I know
ships.
they built the Pearl.
No, what they did is they actually got like modern tanker stuff and then built a facade on the surface of it.
Yeah,
I know for the action scenes where they're like blowing shit up, it's probably one of those a mock one that they built. Yeah. And I know they loaded some of the cannons with pasta to imitate splinters of wood, because when it blasted out, it would hit the other ship and it would look like wood was splintering, but they used like big sheets of pasta. It's pretty cool. Kadish, what is your final thoughts on this, and give it a rating?
Yeah, so this is definitely the best of the series, and it's all like, all these movies are just because Johnny Depp is so enjoyable to watch as this character. A lot of my favorite moments in this film come from Johnny Depp and some of his dialogue, like, you're the worst pirate I've ever heard of. And he's like, but you have heard of me. And then there's that one where like Elizabeth is burning all the rum when they're stranded on the island.
Where's the rum gone?
The famous line.
Yeah, and she's like, but where's the rum gone?
Yeah. I like right after that moment is actually my favorite scene from that, when he's like, must have been terrible for you, Jack. Well, it bloody is now. And then he sees the ship and he's like, there'll be no living with after this. It's just like, God damn it, she was right.
Yeah,
it's really clever dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of that was just Johnny Depp ad-libbing. But the funny thing is, like, they do callbacks to all these like great little Jack Sparrow moments throughout the movies, like the whole like how he got off the island with sea turtles and stuff like that. So yeah, like everything with Jack Sparrow is my favorite moment in this movie.
He's all gushing over here.
Yeah, and the writing I thought was really on point. The directing in this particular film was really good. So I give it like a very solid 4 stars out of 5, or 4 rums out of 5, because it's a great iconic movie, and it brought us this iconic character. Like every time people say pirate, you think of Jack Sparrow.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So.
Guys, this is a 5-star movie for me. Okay. I don't dislike anything. Even the runtime, give me more. Give me more. Make it
we've got like 18 hours.
Make it another half an hour. I'm good. I love everything about this movie. I can't think of any one scene that is like my all-time favorite. Like Kate just says, like everything that happens with Jack Sparrow is just so much fun to watch. It's great. I love the final battle with Barbossa when he's, they're fighting to each other, but there's no point to it because they're both undead.
Yeah.
And he's like, what are we going to do, Jack? Battle each other till the trumpets sound and, reckoning. And he's like, oh, you can surrender. Like, it's just so much fun the whole time. And the reveal that he stole the coin and Barbossa stabs him and he steps into the moonlight and he's like, whoa, check that. Like, it's really cool.
I'll also say that this has the best character introduction of any movie ever, where the first time you meet Jack Sparrow.
Oh, and he's on top of the little thing and he's just floating.
You know exactly who he is before he says a lick of dialogue.
It's a shilling to tie your boat up at the dock. What do you say, the 3 shillings? No, we forget the 9. It's just,
and then he steals the purse.
Yeah, and he steals the, dude.
But that scene where he's on his ship and it's sinking and he just like steps off and walks onto like the dock, it's like, that tells you everything you need to know about that
I almost forgot to mention the freaking music in this movie. Holy shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's right up there with like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
It's good adventure music.
Dun, 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 dun. It's so freaking good. Who was it? Zimmer?
Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer? Dude.
I mean, there's 4 or 5 different.
There's the Pearl theme.
Well, no. What I'm saying is there's like, in the movie world, there's 4 or 5 different just absolutely iconic themes that you know who it is. Superman, Star Wars, Jaws.
It's like 50% John Williams.
It's John Williams movies.
Yeah.
And this one is just, you hear that and you go, oh, pirates.
Yeah.
And it's just.
I remember people used to make videos back when I was playing first-person shooters. People would make compilation videos of them playing different games, and they would put pirate music to them playing a first-person shooter, and it just made it so much more fun. Oh, yeah. It's you can place it in anything, and it just amps you up. It gets your blood flowing. You're like, yeah, let's go swashbuckling and fucking kill people. 5 out of 5 for me. This movie's perfect. I love it. There's nothing I don't like.
That's cool. I like you. I like it that you have a movie like that.
Oh God,
I have Indiana Jones. You have this.
I could talk about this movie all day long.
Fine.
It's so cute.
I could probably
which is better, this one or Jurassic Park?
Oh, put them on the spot there.
Oh God, I don't know. I like the Jurassic Park book better, better than the movie.
You don't have to choose which baby is your favorite.
Oh my
it's okay.
I did see Jurassic Park first, though. I don't know. That's too hard of a question to answer. All right, guys, that's it for the Curse of Black Pearl. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about Dead Man's Chest. We'll be right back after a quick message from these sponsors. Welcome back, everybody. If you would like to support the podcast, go to saltynerdstore.com. You can grab some really cool merch there. We have all kinds of different t-shirts available, magnets, stickers. You're looking at Kadish here. He's got Creepazoids t-shirt that's available on our store right now. All the money that goes into the buying merch and getting you guys some cool swag to wear goes right back into the podcast so we can make better and better content for you. saltynerdstore.com. Consider rocking some of our stuff. Okay. Dead Man's Chest. Right? Yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Jude, take it away.
Okay. 2006, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 2 hours and 31 minutes. This had a budget of $225 million.
Whew.
What do you think this brought in?
A hardcore sequel. What did the last one make? 600 million? Mm-hmm. I'm going to say this one, 650 million.
Okay.
I don't know.
V?
I'm always scared to do this because I know these movies made a ton of money.
It's okay. I mean, I'm not going to make you walk the plank if you're wrong.
But I know, but it's like they're not. I'm trying to remember when movies started making like $1 billion.
Not until.
But it wasn't for during this era.
It was Marvel. Marvel was the first, Avatar. Avatar was the first.
I want to say probably like around 650, 675.
$1 billion.
Wow.
Seriously?
Yes.
It made $1 billion?
It did.
Hell yeah.
So it's like, this was one of the first $1 billion movies then?
Yeah.
Had to be.
2006. You ready for the synopsis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Will and Elizabeth are sentenced to death for helping Jack escape his hanging. Everybody's trying to cut deals to save each other's lives. Will agrees to find Jack's compass and deliver it to Lord Beckett, who wants Davy Jones's heart and control of his ship, crew, and Kraken. Elizabeth dresses like a sailor to escape her fate and make her way to Will. Jack owes a debt of servitude to Davy Jones and is trying to either get Jones's heart or give Jones enough souls to get Jack Sparrow out of his indebtedness and wipe his tab clean.
Okay.
There's a lot going on in this movie.
So we kind of mentioned a little bit, but the first movie was very much so meant to be like its own standalone story. It had a complete arc. Everything was tied up in a nice little bow at the end, and Jack Sparrow got to ride off into the sunset in the Black Pearl. Once that movie became so freaking popular that they just could not ignore it, they went for the 2-part to complete the trilogy. This movie,
I totally get it.
yeah,
Pentology.
yeah. You're such a dick.
You just allow a person to have a sentence come out of their mouth uninterrupted.
This movie definitely feels like it's a little bit of a distance apart from the first one. I mean, obviously it has all the same characters. Everybody comes back to rejoin the cast and everything, but the story itself feels very separate from the first one, except for Will, like you said, Will Turner and his dad. That storyline, they took that thread and they moved into this, but that's really like the only thing. Everything else is completely separate.
Yeah, and like it's kind of all over the place. Like it starts off as though Elizabeth has been left at the altar, but then as the story continues, it's kind of like that never happened almost, and it's kind of like, I don't know. She's
How do
like,
you mean?
She's like kissing Jack Sparrow, and then she's like, "Well, do you even want to marry me?" Like it's like all of this stuff that should have happened leading up to their wedding day is happening now. It's very confusing.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't find it confusing.
I just felt like the story was very back and forth as far as their relationship.
I mean,
We call that convoluted.
there is a lot going on in this movie. I will concede a little bit on that. Like they took the popularity of the first one and what a lot of sequels do. They got a little bit of sequelitis in this one, and they take things a little bit too far, and they harken back to the jokes a little bit too much. Like, oh, remember that one time where he says, "What about the rum?" Let's see him say it like fucking 6 times. Like, I get it, man. I get it.
They hit those jokes so hard that it loses all of the fun.
Yeah, I will agree with you to a point that they did take things a little bit. They got sequelitis in this one. I will agree.
And I hate Davy Jones.
I love Davy Jones. Oh, he's so badass. And that CGI freaking works even to this day.
Yeah, it looks great.
It looks fantastic. It's one of the best CGI characters. Now his like minions, his
No,
crew.
I think they look good too.
The
Really?
Hammerhead guy?
They
look good.
Wow, I'm surprised you think that.
I think
I'll say that
I haven't watched these movies like we did this week
yeah.
in sequential order in probably 7, 8, 9 years, and I think they're holding up very well.
They do hold up. They do hold up really well. I'm just saying, like, I think what we love about the first movie and all the practical sets, and like the only thing that they really leaned on the CGI was for the undead like skeleton thing, which they pulled off beautifully. This one, I think they leaned so much into that fantastical element of like, you know, swashbuckling
these guys,
fantasy.
I felt bad for the crew
of the Davy Jones
of
the Flying Dutchman.
The Flying Dutchman,
Yeah.
because you feel like they're all being punished. They're all like in their own little hells.
Yeah.
You know, being sworn to servitude.
Part of the crew, part of the ship.
Yeah, and you know, as they grow older and they slowly become more part of the sea, you know, in the ship, and it's kind of gross and it's kind of weird.
I like it. I remember
I do like it. Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt some empathy for these guys, you know, but they're just doing what they're supposed to do, and I get it. And I really enjoy the special effects and stuff that they used to do this. I don't know how they did it to this day, how they pulled that off, because it looks flawless. It looks really good.
Dude, the tentacles like that.
I know it's all CGI and stuff.
Yeah, but it's incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jude, you weren't into it?
Totally disagree.
Really?
I feel like they spent a lot of money making things look stupid and ridiculous and ugly and not believable and not funny. Those tentacles were like wormy, gross.
Yes.
And I didn't like it. I hated it. I hated him. I hated the hammer guy. I felt like the whole crew, it was just so much CGI that it was absurd.
Okay. I can see where you're going.
I can
with
too.
But for me, I'm a bit of a shill for this trilogy, I guess, because don't freaking say it.
Pentology.
I just love these movies so much that like I can look past. I do understand where you're coming from. I'm not gonna like disagree with you in that way. I get it, but what I'm saying is, for me, it worked. I think they took that like just over the top fantasy element of the Seven Seas and Davy Jones's locker and the Flying Dutchman, and they just leaned on it and they were like, boom, full tilt.
The Flying Dutchman, to me, here's the thing. If I can watch a movie and it makes me feel uncomfortable and squeamish and like claustrophobic and all these things, I feel like they're doing a good job with what they're trying to do. I felt all of those things in every scene of the Dutchman.
Nice.
It's like I felt like I needed a towel while I was watching this movie.
Everything's wet
because it's moist,
slimy,
and
I feel
slimy.
like your body was trying to tell you that you don't like this movie, and you refuse to acknowledge it.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? I mean, when all the scenes on the Dutchman, you feel kind of gross.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, I just need to go take a shower. I felt bad for those dudes. You know, it's just like, it's just.
Kadish, what are your thoughts on this sequel?
So I didn't like this movie. It's way too long. One of the things is that so there were a lot of kind of mistakes made with these next two movies because of the success of the first one. The first being is that they shot these next two movies concurrently. So Disney was like, we know that these are going to be a hit. We want you to make these two movies back to back, a la Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. So they gave them the budget to make, the next two movies concurrently. The second issue is that Gore Verbinski, the guy who directed the first film, after the success of that one, people stopped telling him no. And so a lot of this stuff is Gore Verbinski just being overly self-indulgent as a director. A lot of set pieces. So basically, they brought back Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio to write the sequels for this. And what these guys did was they came up with an outline, and then they started trying to write the script, but it was on such a shortened time schedule because they were trying to get these out for like the next summer and stuff like that they didn't have time to write an entire script. And so what ended up happening was Gore Verbinski started storyboarding set pieces that he wanted to do, and that's like the big wheel.
Oh, you can definitely tell.
Mm-hmm.
And like all like the big set pieces in this, like running away from the cannibals and shit like that, were stuff that Gore Verbinski kind of conceptualized, and he's like, I want to do this. And the screenwriters were like, okay, well, now we have to figure out ways to fit this into the script.
I get what you're saying there. I really do. But those set pieces, I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
I thought they were fun.
You can enjoy them on their own, but as part of a cohesive story, a lot of that stuff could have been scaled back.
Sure.
Because, a lot of the runtime in this movie are just spent on overly long set pieces. Yeah. And
I can agree.
And because they were shooting these movies concurrently, like depending on the sets that they were on, they would have to shoot stuff from movie 3 while they were shooting stuff from movie 2. And the script from movie 3 was not done.
Right.
So they were actually shooting most of movie 3 without a script. And it was just kind of Johnny Depp ad-libbing and Gore Verbinski coming up with stuff off the top of their head. And in fact, they came up with, I believe the term was like stunt-libbing. where basically Gore Verbinski was like, I want to do this stunt. And instead of having like months to practice it out, the stunt guys were like, okay, we got an hour to figure out how to do this. So you can tell that these next two movies were kind of like patchwork together because they didn't have a finished screenplay. Like the fact that they were able to kind of knit them together or knit the narrative together in such a way where like it pays off on like multiple different levels is a real testament to how good Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio are. But I feel like a lot of the bloat in these movies is basically Gore Verbinski just being a self-indulgent director. And
Which is the one with the giant wheel that they're
That's this one.
sword fighting on?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that went on for a long time.
It did go on for a long time, but god damn it, did I have fun watching it.
I mean, they already spent the money on the wheel. They might as well get as much as they can out of it.
I also feel like the entire bit on Cannibal Island could have easily been cut out and
completely
and streamlined a bit.
The whole thing with the wheel to me is like their Scooby-Doo moment.
Yeah.
Where they're going through the hallways, door to door and stuff.
But it's so much fun to watch though.
There's
like a trio
beyond the wheel. Like that sword fight goes on for way too long.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good. It's got to be at least 15, 20 minutes, right?
If the biggest criticism people have of this movie is it's self-indulgent, I cannot disagree. but I love it.
It is fun, right? It is fun.
That's the thing is like, yes, it's self-indulgent, but you know what? I wanted to be indulged. I wanted to feel like I ate too many desserts at the end of this movie.
I think my criticism isn't so much that it's self-indulgent, even though that is a legit criticism. I think the biggest issue with this movie and the next is that the plot is so convoluted that it almost gets to the point where like you have a hard time following what's happening.
Maybe it's because I've seen it so many times, but I mean, it is kind of, it's like one quest after another, kind of just like strung together. Like, oh, you got to get the key so that we can get the chest, so that we can get the heart, so that we can get the Dutchman.
Where's the compass going to send you?
And then, a compass. And then, Elizabeth has her thing that she wants to do. Turner has his thing that he wants to do. Jack has his thing. Barbosa shows up at the end. Fucking not Johnny Depp. Davy Jones has his own goal. Like, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where the movie sets up like, a motivation for the characters. And then it completes that motivation by the end of the first act. And they're like, okay, we have to do something new now.
Yeah.
And so it just feels so like, overly complicated. It was almost like Terry Rossio, or the guy who wrote Rise of Skywalker and Batman versus Superman. It almost feels like he came in and did this.
I don't know if I go that far because it's still enjoyable. Like those movies were just like, Jesus Christ, can we get over with? But this, I'm on board with this one. I'm
totally
with the
get
journey.
What you're saying. I do think these movies are too long, especially the third one.
It took us 3 times to try to get through this movie.
Really?
Yeah. Like Kadish fell asleep the first time we tried to watch it.
Of course he did.
And then the second time we tried to watch it, we were like, why don't we just quit and go to brunch and then come back and watch it drunk?
Yeah, but here's the difference for me with these movies. It did take me several sittings to get through these, but instead of like, fuck, this movie sucks, I'm going to turn it off and come back to it later because it's awful. I was like, oh man, I got to go to bed. It's getting late. I'll finish this tomorrow.
For me,
and I was looking forward to turning it back on.
I'm going to go back to the Lord of the Rings things. Like, I don't sit down to watch Lord of the Rings without knowing I'm going to sit down to watch Lord of the Rings. That's how I feel about this movie or any of these movies. Like, yes, they're long.
It's a commitment.
But because I love them so much and I know what I'm in store for, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna carve out a chunk of my day and I'm just gonna enjoy the shit out of this adventure. And that's what I do. And I get it for people who want something a little snappier, a little quicker pace, like the first movie.
A little more cohesive.
A little less bloated. I get it.
These movies aren't boring.
No, not at all.
I disagree.
I think they're a ton of fun.
I get really bored in the middle of both of these movies. Yeah. Like in the third movie where they're in Davy Jones's locker and it's just like him in the desert with the crabs.
Yeah, that was weird.
I was like, you could have cut this out.
Well, it was supposed to be weird though. He was in purgatory.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be weird. I'm saying like it didn't need to be in the movie. And it just goes to the Gore Verbinski just being very self-indulgent with him wanting certain things in the film. And also the increased emphasis on Jack Sparrow in these movies, I feel like was a poor choice. It was the Urkel syndrome. Like he should have really just continued to be like a really interesting side character. But they just put too much emphasis on him, I felt.
I would argue that the argument that you made about the first movie with Will being the main character, I would argue that's true in this one. Like the whole point of this one is once Will finds out that his father is still alive, the movie becomes his story.
Well, the difference is that in the first film, Will Turner's motivation is what's driving the movie.
Yeah.
In these next 2 films, it's all about Jack's motivation, which is driving the film. And Will Turner's quest to kind of free his father has been relegated to a B plot.
I agree with that.
I don't know if I do or not. I feel like there's just equal stories that are being told on
happening
this.
at the same time.
And it's fine. I totally get what Matt's saying, but I didn't have a problem with how these things are structured. But these are big popcorn movies that you just, like you said, you need to just dedicate the time to them.
But I mean, like the whole story centers around Jack Sparrow and his quest. And at the end of this movie, when Jack Sparrow gets swallowed by the Kraken or Kraken, however you want to pronounce it.
The original Scandinavian.
Kraken.
Like that becomes the plot of the next movie is to rescue Jack Sparrow. So like he becomes the main character in this movie. Yeah. And that carries on into every other movie that comes after this one.
Well, he's the selling point.
Speaking of the Kraken.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think of the Kraken?
Oh, dude.
It's pretty cool, right?
It's so badass. I love that Like we see it go after that little merchant ship, and it just like
Sucks it under.
destroys it like 3 seconds, and then because like Will Turner and Johnny Depp and Captain Jack Sparrow, like they kind of know what's gonna happen. They kind of get prepared for it, and that scene where like the tentacles are coming up against the Black Pearl, and they're all like, "Hold your fire!"
I mean,
and then they hit the cannons, and the thing freaking blows up. And
throughout the whole movie, every time something like the Kraken would be brought up or whatever, Captain Jack is terrified.
Yeah, he's freaking out.
Johnny Depp was able to show actual
The black spot.
fear. I mean, I felt like he was scared.
Yeah,
It's
cool.
And I thought it was just really good acting on his part.
It's a lot of,
that Kraken is scary. I don't think we'd ever seen anything close to that on a movie prior.
And yet they feel bad when it's dead in the next movie. They're like, oh, there'll never be another mythical beast such as this. It's kind of like, make up your minds, guys.
I don't know. I just really thought the Kraken was cool, man. And
I think it was more of just like we should probably save it for the next one, but I think it was more like a holy shit, somebody killed that thing.
I think that the use of CGI was well spent on the Kraken.
Okay.
And I think the first movie was so well done between like practical and CGI and everything. Everything just flowed really well, and you don't feel like that with this one. With this one, there's just so much CGI and the whole crew of the Dutchman. It's all CGI the entire time. There's no back and forth. There's no flow. It was just too much for me. But the Kraken, great.
Yeah.
There was also an issue where because they were constantly filming, like there was no downtime on these two movies. So like if, they were there on set, like they would just be filming. And so a lot of the CGI is stuff you don't even notice, like background stuff where they're putting in islands and ships and things of that nature. Let's go into final thoughts and ratings.
Okay. I hope we didn't skimp on this movie because there's a lot to like about this movie. I will say like the whole cannibalistic thing with the rescue mission with Jack, you're right. It leads basically to them just being on the ship anyway, which you could have just cut that whole part out and had Jack on the ship to begin with, and Will finds him, and he's like hunkered down, and he's scared. I get it. I can't disagree with you, but what I can do is I can say most of the shit with Samwise Gamgee, Frodo, and Gollum like walking through a swamp, it doesn't lead anywhere in particular. You can cut all of that out, and they'll basically end up in the same spot that they will 2 hours later. It doesn't do anything to the story except for it's part of the story. And I feel like the cannibal thing, it's bloated, it's nonsensical, but it's fun, and it kind of just shows the antics that Captain Jack has been in with his crew. The cannibals were eating half the crew, and there's only a couple left, and it's just fun. It's part of the adventure. So I've got my.
Are you guys having a mustache off?
We are. He's got me beat though.
I can go like to my ears. Dude.
Mine's more shaped.
You're more Doc Holliday. He's more Purple Pie Man.
Purple Pie? What the fuck is that?
You don't know who Purple Pie Man is?
No.
All right, I'm gonna Google a picture. For
Okay.
you.
Sorry, Katie.
Does anybody have an argument against me?
Focus up.
Look, man, Davy Jones is freaking badass. Okay, those tentacles are amazing.
I mean, my argument is that you're comparing this to Lord of the Rings, where there is no comparison. Everything in Lord of the Rings is in service to the story and the characters, whereas this is just set piece because the director wanted it in there.
Bro,
Bro.
have you seen Clerks 2? Here's Lord of the Rings. Huh.
Jesus God.
I'm saying, man.
I'm so glad I just ate that hamburger.
Oh.
Because Jude just gave us a full shot of 151, and I am just... I'm immediately fucked up. Okay? I'm sorry. It is ridiculous.
I thought you guys could hang.
That was the fastest I've ever gotten buzzed in my life. I was like, man, this rum's really weak. What's going on? Shot of 151.
I'm using the microphone to support my nose. Hi there.
Rum's pure sugar, so it gets absorbed instantly.
Oh, God, I'm going to have such a horrible hangover later. Fuck. Oh, I'm so glad I don't have to work tomorrow.
You guys were complaining that you were drunk.
Jude's like, problem solved.
I was upstairs in my office. They're like, God, I'm so sober. Been drinking rum all day and I'm sober. And I was like, on it.
I can't feel my hands.
Why is the rum
I'm
gone?
like the chicken.
I could just do a Johnny Depp impression for the rest of the podcast.
Hey.
Everybody cool with that? I'm kidding.
So what do you think we're doing here today? We're talking about pirate movies, yeah?
I've got a jar of death. I've got a jar of death. Look, guess what's inside it.
It looks like a bunch of dirt, mate.
That's a jar.
That was all improv. By the
Oh
way.
God, I love it.
And all the reactions of the other actors are real. They're just looking at him like, what the hell?
I think Johnny Depp's really fucked up out there, yeah?
This is a jar of dirt. If you don't want it, give it back.
We still got another movie to talk about.
God damn it, dude. This movie is so much fun. I love it. It's overbloated.
Final
Kadish
thoughts.
is right. It's nonsense. Kadish is right. I still love it. I'll
know,
watch
right?
it again and again
All
and
right,
again.
let's do final thoughts and rating.
Vader, rate this movie. He's the only sober one at the. He's the only sober one at the table. Jude, are you sober?
It's, yeah, 150. What you
Leave
got?
it to this
I
side.
know,
of the-
right? You know?
We're always the fucked
So,
up
all
ones.
right now, mate. What are we talking about in this
Asking
movie?
me for drinks all day. I'm
Right.
here to give you drinks.
I thought we were here to drink some rum.
Oh yes.
You
Okay.
want some rum? Here's some rum.
1 out of 5. Dead Man's Chest.
3.5.
Dude, Calypso's badass too. I love Calypso.
Her teeth.
Oh, it's freaky.
Oh,
Oh, it's
yeah.
super freaky.
It's like I can never
That's
kiss.
an opioid,
I
right?
could never
Listen.
kiss that mouth.
No one's teeth are good in this.
It's like, Elizabeth Swan's teeth are pretty good.
Oh, we didn't talk about how freaking
She's dope. She's beautiful in this
Wow.
movie. She's beautiful in all these
when
movies.
she drops to like Victorian era persona and she goes full pirate.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
What you mean when she pretends to be a little boy?
She looks. Why do you got to make it weird?
why?
Because that's what happens in the movie.
She dresses like a pirate and she looks gorgeous.
First of all,
It's like-
she
I
dresses
always-
like a sailor.
I think it's always kind of funny, that trope they
Is your
have.
face sweating?
Yes.
Mine is too. Why don't you go get us a shot
Jude.
Everclear there, lass? We'll just get some fucking
Dude,
fire.
there is no
Where's
better
the
way.
rum going?
There's no better way of proving that you are a pirate wench than getting two 200-pound plus dudes fucked up on one shot.
Yeah, but I've been drinking rum all day.
Me too.
I just needed that kicker to put me over.
Holy shit.
It's always that one last shot's fault.
Now the podcast can start.
Hello.
Uh,
Hello, Kaylee. How you doing?
what are you, Australian?
I don't know. I'm something.
Good day,
You gotta get the
Kaylee.
Good day, mate. How you doing?
How you doing, mateys?
Gotta go put the jelly lumpy on the dingo baby ears.
You know what's funny is when he edits this, it's going to be us completely sober. There's going to be a cut somewhere, and we're going to be completely fucked up.
Can you tell when they started drinking? He's not happy with us right now.
I'm having fun. Okay, Jude.
Am I still hired for your party?
I love you so much.
The jelly won't
You're
get
going
on.
to get my entire family fucked up, and I'm going to love it.
The jelly monkey on the
Okay.
dingo.
Jude's my bartender for my 10-year anniversary party.
The surprise party?
Yeah.
The surprise party?
It's not for me, it's for my wife. Anyway, Jude, rating 1 through 5 on Dead Man's Chest.
I don't love this. I'm sorry to disappoint
No,
you,
you-
but I love the
don't give a
first
shit
one.
what
The
you
first
think.
one is 4 stars for me. Thank you. Well, that really takes the pressure off. The first one is 4 stars for me.
Okay.
This one drops a full star for me. It's like 3 out of 5 peg legs.
Okay. Peg legs. Okay.
I'm just trying to.
Do you have a favorite moment, or I know you don't like the Flying Dutchman's crew, so you think it's like CGI vomit. Is there a moment?
I do. And also I feel like the Black Pearl and the Flying Dutchman look a lot alike, so it's hard to tell them apart in scenes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're What are you doing?
The black spot.
I thought he was doing some kind of wonky rum dance.
The rum dance. Anyway, so 3 out of 3.5.
3.
Okay, 3. Kadish, I'm so sorry, dude. I'm so sorry. I can only imagine what it must be like to be the only sober person at the table.
Jude's pretty sober.
That can change. What do you think about this movie? Final thoughts, favorite moments? Give it a rating. Go ahead.
I don't really have any favorite moments in this movie.
Oh, come on.
Because it's not very good. I'd give it 2.5 rums out of 5. Yeah, I just feel like it's overly long. It's bloated. It's a sequence of very cool set pieces that don't really have anything to do with one another. And you can tell that it was kind of stitched together as they went. So especially when you compare it to the first movie, which was really good. This movie to me just doesn't hold up. So yeah, 2.5 stars.
2.5. Wow, that's a big
rating.
drop.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, so for me, again, it's one of my favorite trilogies of all time. I'm in for the length. I'm in for the bloat. I'm down. I want to watch it. When I put this movie on, I know what I'm getting into, and I'm okay with it. I think Davy Jones is one of the best CGI bad guys out there. Like he's up there with like Thanos as far as like CGI quality. It works. For me.
yeah,
I dig it.
He looks
I
really
dig
good.
it. And
Well, you know what's funny is Bill Nye,
the actor who plays
the
him,
actor who plays Davy Jones.
not the science guy. He's a hack. The other dude.
Yeah, not Bill Nye, Bill Nye.
Okay.
How dare you besmirch the good name of the science guy?
Yeah, the father from Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
So he plays Davy Jones, and originally they wanted him to do a Dutch accent because Flying Dutchman, and he was like, "I don't do Dutch. I'll give you Scottish."
I love his accent, dude. He pulls it off really well. I mean, I think that's his more or less his natural way of talking. Like when you see him in like Shaun of the Dead,
No, he's British.
he's got but he has a lot of the same mannerisms. Is what I mean. Like the actor himself. I think the other thing that we haven't really talked about is Cutler Beckett, the East India Trading Company bad guy.
Oh, he's a great bad
I
guy.
really love him.
He's one of those British guys who was just born to play a villain.
Yes, he played a villain in The Night Manager, the Tom Hiddleston movie or TV show that's on Amazon.
A British guy playing a bad guy.
Yeah,
Go figure.
there's a reason why it works.
He's very Napoleon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I dig it. And I think his conniving, kind of like manipulation, playing 4D chess with everybody, I really dig that aspect of this movie.
Yeah, but they make him a complete idiot in the third movie.
He just gets outwitted by Captain Jack, bro.
It's not about getting outwitted. It's like he's got an entire armada, and he's like, I'm just going to sail in front of this thing and engage these mystical ships one on
Let's
one.
get there, babe.
We'll get there.
Okay.
It's not as good as the first one. I will agree. First one was a 5 out of 5 for me. This is like a 4.
Okay.
I still love it.
So we're all went down a point.
Yeah. When I turn this movie on, dude, I'm in.
So,
Hook, line, and sinker, pun intended.
real quick. So this movie ends on a bit of a surprise.
I want to talk about that. Can I talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So the ending of this movie.
Can you talk about that?
Yes. The ending of this movie, when I remember, because I was in full cosplay when I went to go see the sequel.
I can only see. I can just.
I have a picture. I'll dig up the picture and I'll post it on social media if I can find it. It's on my Facebook page that I never use. I went to go see this movie in full cosplay. At the time, I remember the theater was packed. I mean, freaking packed. And this is before the time of assigned seating. So when I went and stood in line to get my tickets, I ended up in the theater and I was in the fucking front row.
Oh, that sucks.
And I was just like, my neck, I was just watching it like that. So that was my first viewing of this movie. And that ending scene where everybody's like mourning the death of Captain Jack. We didn't even talk about the whole Elizabeth Swann, like little sexual tension thing. I love that stuff too.
With her and Jack.
Yeah. I like that. The backstabbing thing that she did with him when she locked him up and he's like, she's conniving in this movie.
Yes.
Dude. I dig it.
Yeah.
I dig it. Elizabeth Swann really.
Well, she was like, the Kraken's after you, not the ship.
Yeah.
So you need to stay here so we can survive.
Yeah.
And she like handcuffs him to the mast.
And then he's like, pirate. It was like, oh shit, she became a pirate. It's so cool. What was I saying? Oh, the Barbossa moment. Okay, so we're at Calypso's little shack in the woods somewhere, and there's only one man who can, I can't do her accent, but there's only one man who can rescue Captain Jack from beyond. It's somebody who's already been there before. And you hear the freaking thump, thump, and here's freaking Captain Barbossa walks down the plank. He's like, "Where be my ship?" And I'm just like, bro, my freaking head exploded,
Takes the
dude.
bite of that apple.
Oh, dude, it was so freaking badass. I remember.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. I remember the first night I saw that.
Well,
It
what was
just
funny
blew my mind.
is that on set, the day they shot that scene, so they told all the actors that it was going to be Zoe Saldana who came back because she was actually in the first movie.
Yeah.
And it's funny because she like hated making that movie. That's one of the reasons she didn't return for the sequels, is because she felt like
that was her in
Yeah.
Yeah.
crew, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like, she has a story about how like there was like a class level where certain crew members and cast members would treat other crew members and cast members like second-class citizens.
Really? I did not know this. That's cool.
And that's one of the reasons she didn't return, because she didn't like being treated like that, because she wasn't like a big actress at the time.
No, she wasn't. Yeah.
But they were saying that it was going to be Zoe Saldana who came down those stairs. And so when Jeffrey Rush came down, all the reactions you get from the other actors in that scene were genuine.
Nice.
Nice.
I didn't know that. That's cool. That makes it even better. 4.5 stars. All right. That's it for our discussion of Dead Man's Chest. Stay tuned. We're going to get into the last movie in this trilogy.
Pentology.
We'll be right back after a word from our
Are
sponsors.
we gonna have to watch the Blackbeard one now, or what?
Later. We'll save it.
Someday.
We'll save it. Anyway, we'll be right back, guys.
Yarr.
You guys want another shot?
No.
Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you want to chat with the co-hosts and host of the podcast, go to our Discord server, saltinerdiscord.com. We have a ton of people in there now. We're gaining more and more every single day. You guys are at a specific role. If you're a pod person, you get access to special chats. Patreons get their own chats. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, there's a chat in there for you guys as well. Go to saltinerdiscord.com. Join our Discord server. We do... Vader, you're doing like gaming and stuff nowadays, right?
I'm trying to put a little stream together
Right
on
on.
Saturday mornings, and
I dig
we
it.
stream on the YouTube channel.
Just come hang out with us. This
Come
is
hang
our
out.
place. We're trying to move away. I'm personally trying to move away from Twitter and get a more one-on-one experience with our listeners and get a better community going on. So saltinerdiscord.com. Okay, Jude, at World's End.
Okay.
Go for it.
2007, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Rated PG-13 with a runtime of 2 hours, 49 minutes.
Hell yes. 3 hours
That
long.
was ridiculously long.
With a runtime of 3 days and 49 minutes. Had a budget of $300 million. What do you think this brought in?
680.
The last one brought in $1 billion.
Oh,
Are you
that's
sure?
right. Oh, yeah. $1.2 billion.
Okay. Me?
I'll say I made it about the same. $1 billion.
Close. $960 million.
Okay.
Okay. A little bit less.
Yeah,
960
little
million.
bit less. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Jack's in purgatory, so the crew must save him. Lord Beckett now controls the heart of Davy Jones and forces him to do his bidding. Elizabeth becomes the Pirate King. The voodoo lady from the last movie is an angry goddess named Calypso, and Will resolves to free his father from the Flying Dutchman. Can you tell how checked out I was by the end?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a weak synopsis.
Thanks.
Yeah, this pirate movie
have
happened
to
and
say,
stuff went down.
This movie, I mean, it's obviously a part 2 from the last one. Like
Yes.
all the little threads, all the little hints that Calypso and Davy Jones
Yeah.
and love interest there, it all gets paid off in this movie. I think all of the setup from the first movie, even though it's bloated, I think it really pays off really well in this third act, or I guess the second act of this little storyline that we got. Again, I have a ton of fun with these movies. I love Singapore. Elizabeth Swann comes into her own. She becomes a freaking complete badass.
I love her.
I love her too. That
I
scene,
really love her.
that scene when they're in Singapore and they're like, "You think because you're a woman we wouldn't freaking search you?" And she like starts taking all the. She opens up her vest. She's got
I know,
guns,
right?
and then she stops and she's like, "I got one more," and she literally like pulls
Pulls
it
it
out
out.
of her ass cheeks, and I was like, "God damn, Olivia! Whoa!" Awesome, love it. Barbosa, I'm so glad that he's back in this
Yeah.
movie in full swing. Like Barbosa and Sparrow have such a great chemistry together.
I agree.
I love watching them.
I like the chemistry between Barbosa and Sparrow.
Yeah,
I still hate Davy Jones. And I liked Calypso until I found out that she was like a completely different character in this. And I
What do you
didn't
mean?
like that. Like she was this like creepy voodoo pirate lady
Mhm.
in the second movie. And now in this one, she is a creepy voodoo pirate lady, but she's really a goddess trapped in the body of this creepy what?
yeah.
No. It's
And she was in love with Davy Jones, and they like
I didn't
stabbed
hate-
each other in the
I
back.
didn't hate the whole love story. However, I didn't appreciate that they like had this whole different story of this like this goddess who was in love with Davy Jones, and there was this like betrayal, but they put that whole really cool story on top of this character who we already got to know in the second movie, and it made no sense.
Oh, I disagree. I think it was just like a peeling back of the layers for me. Because who else is going to be the goddess of the sea is just like crazy, creepy, enchantress witch lady. I think that made sense.
With really bad teeth.
Really bad teeth. I dig it though. That's an opiate thing, right? When you're like high on opiates is when your teeth turn black. Anyway,
it's also when you don't brush your teeth your entire life.
that was more Barbosa, when Barbosa's like bites an apple or he's like his teeth. Jeffrey Rush's teeth are disgusting in this movie, which is probably why I love it.
I don't think I would have been a very good person to be alive back then.
Why? You have like big teeth hygiene thing going on?
Yeah.
God,
I know. I like personal hygiene.
This shot gave me there's like a ringing in my ear from that shot. Kadish, what did you think about this?
There's some things you don't want to do without good hygiene.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Kadish, what did you think about this third movie?
What?
I did not like this movie.
Wow.
One star crap.
This was my least favorite. It's not a 1-star movie, but there's just like the self-indulgence and the convoluted plot and all this other stuff just kind of like comes to a head in this movie. All the stuff with getting Jack back, like, there's a scene where he's in like
Purgatory.
He's in purgatory, and it's just like this big desert, and there are all these crabs and all these different versions of him, and I'm just like, I'm wasting my life watching this movie. And originally this movie was 3 hours long, and Jerry Bruckheimer came in. He's like, we need to cut this down a little bit, so they cut out like 20 minutes.
Wait, how long was it?
3 hours.
There's a 3-hour version of this movie.
I want to see
apparently,
that.
Just made Alex's day.
I want to go watch this.
Release the Verbinski cut. But yeah, like I just felt like this movie in particular was very self-indulgent. A lot of the set pieces went on way too long. The final sword fight scene between Davy Jones and Jack Sparrow, where they're on like the mast of a ship and they're dueling each other. It's just like there's no possible way Jack Sparrow could have kept his balance.
I don't care.
Yeah, the acrobatics in this were over the top.
Yeah. Oh, so I mean, like it wrapped up all the storylines that were set up in the previous one really well. I think my favorite part of this movie was actually the beginning where they're in Singapore and Chow Yun-fat shows up.
Yeah.
And I love Chow Yun-fat.
He's awesome.
He's one of my all-time favorite actors, and it was just so cool to like see him in it and just get to see him chew the scenery, so to speak. It was just that part of the movie was just so cool. Like I feel like it would have been neat if one of these movies had been set entirely in Singapore and everything was just like kind of happening around there. But all that aside, like, yeah, this movie, way too long, way too self-indulgent. I didn't like it at all.
I completely disagree. I think this is
shocker.
As like the ending of a trilogy. I'm gonna go back to Lord of the Rings here, but the Return of the King. Like this is that epic final conclusion to this story that they set up in the last movie, and the indulgence of it is just part of the adventure, part of the fun. But I do think Singapore is definitely the strongest part. But what I really like about this movie is the adventure into the mythology of like the end of the earth and finding the edge of the world and going to purgatory.
I felt like all that stuff wasn't as good because, like in the first movie, the cursed treasure was kind of like a neat supernatural aspect to the movie. And it was simple. And they got way too convoluted with, Davy Jones's thing and Calypso and,
they
Edge of the World and the afterlife. And
the Dutchman must always have a captain.
Dude, they literally go to hell and back to get Jack because he's one of the 9 captains of the pirates. Like, it's just... I don't know,
and it's
man.
weird
I dig
too
it.
because like Chow Yun-fat could die and just designate a new captain, but Jack Sparrow
he didn't have a chance.
He didn't designate anybody.
Yeah, he didn't pass.
Also, Barbosa gave like his knick-knack to the guy with the missing eye.
Yeah.
And it was like he kept losing that thing all throughout all 3 movies. so
I'm gonna find it. Oh shit!
It's the little retroactively like, hey, guess how important that thing was? Remember how
I actually thought that was kind of cool.
I thought it was cool too. I kept on to it just like you said, sir.
But you'd think that Barbosa would want to keep that on him because it's so important.
I don't know. I liked it. But
Can we talk about Keith Richards' little appearance?
Yes.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's
Sure.
Best part.
As Jack's dad.
Hello, Jackie boy.
How's mom? And he holds up a shrunken head.
It's great.
She's doing fine. It's cool. I like that.
So originally they wanted to get Keith Richards for the second movie. And, you know, we all know that Keith Richards was the guy that Johnny Depp based his character
Right.
on.
Mm-hmm.
And Keith Richards, at the time, he was touring with the Stones, and he was like, I can't make it for the second movie. But then when they started shooting the bulk of the third movie, they were able to get him to come in, and he was so drunk on set that Gore Verbinski had to like stitch together his performance, because like he'd literally have to like prop him up.
It's basically what Kadish does with us on the podcast.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I know it's like drinking when you're trying to work.
I feel like Keith Richards more than anyone is like, you know, he can't be killed by conventional weapons. Like he's just indestructible.
If he ever gets sober, he'll die.
Yeah, that's the thing.
He cannot ever.
You got to
be
stay
sober.
perpetually buzzed or drunk the entire time. I dig it.
Do you know when he was born?
1823.
Close. 1943.
Damn.
But, you know, he looks like Captain Hook in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, he fits the bill so well. Like you put a hat on the
he
dude
looks,
and you're
he
good.
totally does.
You don't even need to add anything. Just put a hat on him and he's a pirate.
Yeah, just put a boat behind him. That's it.
That's perfect. Done.
I feel like I look pretty much like a pirate.
You're getting there, buddy. You're getting there. You're real close.
I got a Gibbs thing going on.
For me, like this movie was just like that epic conclusion to the whole storyline that we kind of signed up for in the second movie with Davy Jones and Will trying to get his father back, and then we got Norrington, who's like redeemed himself kind of, but then went back to the bad
I
side.
thought he had a really stupid end.
He got
Yeah.
shafted for sure.
Like literally.
Literally.
I would have liked him to have seen him go out a little more.
Well, he went out saving
He
Elizabeth.
did,
but it was kind of a weak ass way of doing it.
yeah,
I see what you're saying. I get it. But I just like the idea that they actually gave him something.
sure.
I'm glad he wasn't just like excluded from
At
the
least,
whole
at
movie.
least we got an ending to his story.
Yeah.
One of the parts that really stuck out to me that kind of irked me was when they go to parlay after like they see like the East India fleet, and J.V. Jones is there
Standing
on
in
land,
buckets?
standing in a bucket of water. And I'm like, really? That's a loophole?
Yes.
It's like, couldn't he? If that was the case, couldn't he have just been carried onto land and whenever he wanted?
Yeah. Kind of, yeah.
And if that's the case, can't like Will, once he takes over the Flying Dutchman, can't he just like sit in a tub of water and be carried onto land to meet with Elizabeth?
Probably. There's a loophole
Why
there.
don't they do that?
Can't they do it in a bathtub?
As long as it's salt water.
Or why can't she meet him at sea somewhere and come on the ship and hang out with him for like
yeah,
once
like
a week or something?
if Will, before he was the captain, could be on the Flying
We're
Dutchman,
getting way ahead of ourselves.
why
but-
couldn't Elizabeth be on the Flying Dutchman?
Well, I don't think Will would want her to be stuck on the ship like that. It's kind of a curse. It's not really something that you want for other
Curse
people.
is what you make of it.
Fair
is
enough.
Yeah, once Will took over the ship, it didn't look like that bad
Yeah,
of a
it's
ship.
like
Well, that's because he
all
was
the-
doing the job that he was meant to do,
All
He
ferrying the dead.
got rid of all of the people that were like slaves to the ship.
Yeah.
No, they didn't get rid of them. They just got back to their human forms.
Well, yeah, I mean, he
All
like
the barnacles
he
and shit
set
fell
them
off.
free.
The reason why Davy Jones looked the way he did was because he failed to do the job that he was supposed to do. And the farther away from your mission you get, the more.
Yeah, but that whole thing of him standing in that tub of water on land, I was just like, oh, come on.
I thought it was funny.
I thought
It
it
was
was
cool. They were like, I could just picture the conversation where they're trying to have with Davy Jones. Like, we need to meet on this little sandbar island thing. Like, can you come with us? No, I can't step foot on land until 10 years from now. He's
Yeah,
like,
then why go?
and they're like, well, and I can just picture like, I don't know who was with him. It was Will Turner, right? It was like, what if we just bring a bucket with water? And it's just like, it's just one of those goofy little things, man. I don't really worry about it too much.
I mean, they made it such a big deal, like he can only go on land once every 10 years.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh no, he could go whenever he wants, as long as there's a bucket of water for him to stand on.
I thought it was
So
funny.
just get a pair of rubber boots. and fill them with
It's
water.
like, so you're allowed to stand on a bucket on land, but you can't be on the actual land.
You're really focused
I
on
think
this
it's really
one thing.
nitpicky, man.
yeah,
It might be nitpicky, but it's those little things that like just irk me about.
it's
certain
comical
things.
to me that that's the thing that you're picking on in this movie. The man has tentacles for a face.
Yeah, but
That's
it
awesome.
kind of violates their own mythology that they set up, and so like that type of stuff bugs me.
They just needed to have that scene where they were all standing together. What are you doing to your teeth?
Checking them out.
He's got to make sure he's like, I didn't turn into a pirate while we were
Seeing
doing
if
this.
they're still there, dude.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of like different. Again, I'm kind of in the. I don't know. I'm a shill for these freaking movies, dude. I just love them all. I love watching these movies. They're so much freaking fun. Singapore,
Like, here's the
ton of
thing.
fun. The ship battles, ton of fun.
They're
The whole
The costumes are great.
costumes are great. The Pirate Kingdom. What is it called again? The
Shipwreck Cove.
Shipwreck Cove. I thought that was super
Shipwreck
cool.
Cove on Shipwreck Island in the town of Shipwreck.
Yeah, and they make a comment about that.
Because we're not very creative with the
I once
names
knew
of
a
our
man
stuff
with
on our
no
island.
legs, one arm. You know what we called him?
Larry.
Larry.
Yeah.
I dig it, man. It's just
Yeah,
it's,
I watched these movies.
it's more fun, clever things that I'm in. At this point, like, you kind of know what you're getting into.
Sure.
And even though it's bloated and it might be over the top and they go a little case of sequelitis on the way, it's all right, man. Take some Advil, you'll be okay.
At least they have sequelitis, but at least it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
I don't have a huge issue with any of these movies. They're fun, and they keep up with the set pieces, and at least they're over the top through the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They are consistently over the top.
Yeah. So call it campy or something. Call it whatever you want, but
Oh, there's definitely a good dose
Yeah.
of humor in all these things. A little bit of self-awareness.
sure.
Like that one scene where they're in like the Antarctic or something like that, and the one sailor is like touching his foot and he breaks his toe off and he's like, oh shit. And it just like casually pans away from him. But I love that mythical aspect of it where Barbossa has a map that if you turn the wheel, it tells you how to get over the edge of the world and into purgatory. It's just, it's freaking cool, man.
I forgot I have to give this an extra half star.
Is there boobs in this movie?
No, but there's midgets, dude.
There's midgets in all three of these
there's
movies.
midgets in 3 of
Give
the
me
5 movies.
half star. Half star to all of them.
Retroactive half star. there.
Retroactive half star.
Every man worth his salt. You remember that line? That was in the first movie, bro. And he pans over, and it's just a blank screen, and it goes down, and there's the guy. It's just like,
And the
"Arr."
best part, they're making fun of the midget.
Yeah. I remember
Because-
when they're hoisting the sails up,
Yeah.
and he's just hanging in midair, and everybody else is pulling his weight.
I just saw the scene where he shoots the blunderbuss.
Yeah, and he goes
he's
flying.
back on the, yeah. Oh my God. So good.
Have a star.
Half star.
Boom.
Okay.
Jude, do you have any
Hey,
more?
I heard that midget was in a different movie. You wanna,
yeah?
You want to give another half star for that?
Give the first one 5 stars.
What movie was it?
I don't know.
He's trying
He's
to
a
make
very-
a joke because you gave something an extra half star for seeing her boobs in
Oh
another
no,
movie.
no retroactive Bex. No, but I can't talk.
Okay. Jude,
Yes.
final thoughts
Sorry,
on...
I'm trying to juggle this dog that keeps climbing into my lap.
God, this is...
We're
We're falling apart over here. Final thoughts on At World's End.
I did not like it. It was
At
tough for
all?
me to
Really?
get through. Yeah. I feel like I like the first one so much. And for me, the first one is so like almost perfect that these 2 sequels that are kind of a mess detract from it for me. Like I'd rather it have just been a one-off than it probably would have been a 5-star movie for me. But because there's this mess afterwards, it gets worse for me, and it's way too long. And by the end, I was kind of hate watching it.
Really?
Yeah. So for me, it's another star down. So this is a 2-star for me.
Oh.
I know that hurts. I'm sorry.
Jude.
Do you want another shot?
Jude.
Elizabeth Swan is the pirate king.
Elizabeth.
The monkey has a little Chinese guy hat on.
Come on, man.
The monkey has a Chinese hat on.
Here's your payment. It's an undead monkey. Top
Oh
that.
my God.
God, come on, guys. All right, Kadish, what's your rating for this 3rd
So,
installment?
it's kind of a disappointment to me because after the first Pirates, I honestly thought that Gore Verbinski was kind of like going to be the next big director. And after these 2 movies came out, and it was obvious that, he was bloated and overblown and stuff like that. If you look at his career after he did The Lone Ranger, he's basically kind of disappeared from the face of the earth in terms of like making movies. And so he ended up being kind of like a flash in the pan director, which I think is a bit of a shame. Like if he had just exercised a little bit more restraint in his choices, I think he'd probably still be making movies nowadays. But this movie was the least favorite of mine that we watched this week. And I'd have to agree with Jude, giving this 2 black pearls out of 5 because it's not a 1-star crap fest, but it's a very boring, overly long movie that I did not enjoy at all.
Oh, we've got 2 angry pirates at the end of the
The
table.
table is split, folks. The table is split. Me and V, man, I just have fun, dude.
What did you give this?
I'm gonna give this another 4-star. It's the
I'll
same.
I'll go 3.5.
It's the same level as the second one. It's overbloated and it's nonsensical,
Yep,
and they go. It's all those things. I love
It
it.
just depends whether or not that bothers you.
I have so much fun watching these characters do, like, the whole pirate, who's going to become the king scene where they're around the table and they're like, every pirate always votes for themselves. And then everybody votes for, except for Jack, because he's always freaking, he's always 3 steps ahead of everybody else because he's clever. Like, I love all that stuff, man. It's a lot of fun. And again, Cutler Beckett, I do agree they kind of nerfed him a little bit in this movie just so that he could die, but he's still kind of I'm kind of glad though.
He's at the head of a massive armada, and he chooses to go out alone ahead of the armada to engage these 2 ships, these 2 pirate ships at the same time. And it's just like, dude, why didn't you just bring all your ships?
Well, he's cocky. He's overconfident.
I don't care how cocky you are. You don't go 2-on-1.
Well, he didn't. No, because he doesn't expect the Dutchman to turn on him.
Yeah,
but he was under the impression that
even then,
he was under.
You have all these ships. Why not bring a couple with you?
Well, maybe, sure. I mean, the same could be said for the Black Pearl. Like, you got all these pirate ships and bring a couple with you. But it was part of the ending battle. He assumed that Davy Jones was still in charge and he still had control, and he didn't realize that was not the case until it was too late. I don't know. This is a 4-star movie. Go check it out. It's awesome.
4 stars.
Watch it. It's I have so much fun with these movies. Need some WD-40.
I'm not gonna yuck your yum, dude.
That's fine. I need to go watch 4 and 5 and see where they land.
They kind of fall off a cliff.
Because I haven't really. I know Barbossa shows up in one of them, and he's like a Senate member or something. He's got a big white wig. It's really weird. I don't know. He's like he's a privateer, I think. It goes off the rails. It really does. It jumps the shark hardcore.
I mean, it went off the rails with the second movie.
It's hard. That's hard to imagine.
It's anyway. All right, guys. We're done. Apparently, we're spent. We're done.
These 3 movies end basically with Johnny Depp's character Jack Sparrow right where he began in the first movie. He's on this little dinghy. He's going off to get his ship back. And he's got like a magical compass and a magical map that is going to lead into
the adventure continues.
Yeah.
Yo ho, me hearty. Yo ho.
It's if it's Will Turner's story, then he's the one. That's the arc that's complete. He is now the captain of the Dutchman, and he has a son with Elizabeth, and he's destined to roam the 7 seas for the rest of his.
Oh, that's right. The after credit scene.
Yeah,
that nobody stayed around for.
I stayed for it. I was there. The green flash, and Will shows up, and he's got a 10-year-old son, and it's just, I don't know, it's kind of cool.
And Keira Knightley looks exactly like she did 10 years prior.
Have you seen her lately? She still looks
exactly.
She
actually still does.
Yeah, she's literally. God, I can't talk anymore. All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here and try to burn off some of this alcohol. Thanks for joining us. Let us know what you think of these movies. If you're as much into this trilogy as I am, I might just start my own Discord chat room for pirate movies.
Oh God,
Go
every
check
time we
that.
watch a movie, you're like,
New Discord chat room.
Yeah.
Let's go talk pirates. Vader, where can they find you on the socials, bud?
Online.
Thanks. He's not even paying attention anymore.
You can find him at MattVader74 on Twitter,
TikTok,
Instagram, and the things.
Yar.
All the things. Yar.
All
right, Jude, where can they find you at?
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can check out thevoiceofjude.com and you can check out my voiceover work.
Right on. Kadish?
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter and Gitter. And you can also check out my books on Amazon by going to www.kadishbooks.com.
And ye scallywags can find me on my Discord server. SaltyNerdDiscord.com. I'm in there all the time, chatting it up with all our other listeners and Patreons and all kinds of fun stuff. Go check it out and join us. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us on this week's podcast for the Pirates movie. Obviously, I'm I'm on my hill with my flag, with my little pirate flag. Comment below, like I said, what you think of these movies. Let us know whose side you're on. And as always, stay salty, my friends.
You've got your like skull and crossbones flag and your little bottle of rum.
Pirate movies are good.
Alone in the world with your rum.
Yo ho, a pirate's life for me.
SpongeBob SquarePants. Yarr.